Hi, everyone. Welcome to the March 17th LGBTQIA plus commission meeting. I'd like to get this meeting started by doing a roll call. Leonard Orbovich.
Present, sorry.
That's okay. Cece Calhoun. Julian McLean.
Present.
Richard Parsakian.
Here.
Shantae Porter. Sarah Rosso. Derek Tynes. Guillermo Velasquez.
Present.
Kevin Carroll.
Present.
Councilperson Barb Wark. Donnie Donovan.
Present.
Alexander Gray.
Present.
Anne Marie Ellison. Okay, let's do the reading the reading and approval of prior minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes? Can we make a motion to approve it?
I motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Prior meeting minutes have been approved. Now we're going to do acknowledgement of public comment, and I'm currently not seeing anybody on the public, anybody from the public in this Zoom meeting, so we'll move forward with that. Do the officers and standing committees want to give out a quick report? I would just ask that we hold some of our unfinished business, if it's in your report, till we actually address that in unfinished business to keep the meeting moving forward.
So yeah, speaking to that, Cece and I talked about our bylaws, so we'll speak about that later in the agenda, and the update of that. And then the Gender Equity Commission, I had a chance to sit in on their meeting, and we'll speak about that later on as well.
Awesome, thank you. For our new business, I'd just like to take a moment to introduce you all to Chief Lando and also Commander Baker, who is the LGBTQIA plus liaison for the Bureau of Police. Welcome. Welcome.
Is there like
You just go.
So yeah, my name is Jason Lando, born and raised in Pittsburgh. I was with the Bureau of Police for 21 years, and retired as a commander back in 2021. And spent the last 5 years as a police chief in Maryland. I was offered a job as the chief in Frederick, Maryland. Pittsburgh is and always will be my home. So I joke around. I said I took a sabbatical to learn how to be a police chief somewhere else. And then when Corey called and said, "Hey, you ready? You want to come back?" And for me, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I enjoyed my time in Maryland, but Pittsburgh will always be my home. So I'm glad to be back. And really appreciate being invited to the meeting this evening. I really just want to more hear from everyone in the room and online, any questions you have. But for me, a couple of the big kind of overarching things that I want to address is violent and quality of life issues. For me, that as a police department, I think we do a lot of great stuff. Yesterday I was just at Obama High School, doing youth engagement with some kids that historically didn't have a great view of the police, and we were in there with our officers having lunch with the kids, and I mean that type of stuff is very important. And I'm glad to be able to do that, but we always have to be like laser focused on violent quality of life issues. If people don't feel safe when they leave their house, to go to work or at night, then we're not doing our job. So for me, violent quality of life crime is always number one. Officer wellness and resiliency for me has to be right up there as well. I think a lot of times in my career, when I've looked at officers that maybe have not behaved the way we expected them to behave, when you do some digging, and you see what's really going on, a lot of them, they come to work with a lot of stress. They have the same family issues and other concerns that everyone else in the public has, and then they go to work and they deal with other people's. And so I think for me, making sure that our officers go to work every day with a clear head, and we provide them that help they need, so that translates in my opinion to people out of the community receiving a higher quality of service from the police department. Along those same lines, another thing that we're working on is to develop more or less like a leadership program in the department. Because aside from the officers, there's some very young supervisors, and I want to make sure that they're equipped to lead. And when the officers are out there every day, if they're doing great work, I want them to be recognized. But if they're not doing great work and they need to be held accountable, I want to make sure that we're doing that as well. So bringing in someone to work on leadership and professional development on a full-time basis is another goal. And then last but certainly not least is recruitment and retention. We are pretty significantly understaffed right now. That's something we're working on. But aside from just getting bodies in the door, I want bodies that are sensitive to the needs of the community, and to make sure that our police department is reflective of the community and that we have a diverse police department. And so those are 4 of our biggest priorities right now. And then kind of along with that, I don't know if anyone in here knows anything about me, but for me, building those relationships with the community is really important. When I was sent out to Zone 5 years ago as a commander, I inherited a police station that had really no relationship with the community. And we worked very, very hard to build those bridges and to build those relationships. And we saw a very significant decrease in complaints against officers, and this willingness for our community to come out and work alongside of our officers to help solve crimes and just really work together to make Zone 5 a better place. And so I kind of bring that back with me as something I want to make sure we're implementing on a citywide basis, is those close partnerships with. So with that, I will shut up and I'll give the floor over to the commission to see if you have any or what questions you might have for me.
I've got some. I don't know, Tony or anyone online has questions.
I do have a comment, if I may. This is Commissioner Guillermo Velasquez. One of the reasons why I like to, be involved with the commission is because the population is changing in Pittsburgh, decade after decade, and so we now see more LGBTQ Latino people in the area. So something that I just like to always mention, so people are aware of that. And in Chief Landon, knows that the population is growing, and like him to take that in consideration also when he's dealing with community.
Thank you. And I love the bow tie, by the way.
Yeah, but I forgot it was St. Patrick's Day. So
Yeah. I wasn't sure if that was your everyday look or just today. Thank you for the comment. I appreciate it.
I forgot that I was friend.
And speaking to Guillermo's comment, training, sensitivity training, stuff like that, are those ongoing things that you have with different community groups? Are there liaisons inside the department that do trainings like that for? I know that you're trying to bridge gaps between multiple communities, not just LGBTQIA or people of color or immigrants or whatever. So how do you go about getting information or sensitivity trainings or whatever to those officers? So, and I'm speaking of say there's an arrest or someone feels misgendered, or they're calling them the wrong gender, or to that.
Well, so a couple things there. So first of all, we only have one kind of liaison in the entire department, and that is this gentleman right here, who is our LGBTQIA+ liaison. One of the things that we did when when I was in Maryland was we established what we call the MCLU, the Multicultural Liaison Unit. That's something that I would love to see us implement here. And we identified, so in Maryland, we identified like what are the top 5 communities that are, I would say like the most underrepresented in the police department or have the most significant history of, not having the best relationship. And so in Maryland, we identified, it was pretty obvious what those 5 were. And it's not going to be the same in every city. For instance, in Maryland, one of them was our deaf and hard of hearing community because the state school for the deaf is in downtown Frederick. I don't know that would be like the same here,
Right.
but what I'd like to do is work with some of our commissions and our partners to identify here in Pittsburgh what are some of the those underrepresented or traditionally marginalized groups and stand up an actual liaison program where our liaisons can, even though they'd be representing different communities, they could go to training, in DC, Washington DC Metro Police has a very well-known liaison program where they actually go get formal education and training. They host trainings for the community. So that's one of our goals. That's one of the things I'd like to do here. So, I mean, the good news is y'all get our only liaison that we have right now. But I would like to build that program out so we're reaching other, other communities that don't feel like they have the best representation. And then in the academy, all the officers in the academy get sensitivity training, and then periodically. So we have different trainings every year, just different topics every year. And I was actually one of the lead instructors a couple years back for Pittsburgh's procedural justice and implicit bias training. So actually worked with some other partners in the agency to develop our implicit bias training. And I did that for Pittsburgh police and police departments all around the region. And actually started getting requests from like private entities and businesses in Pittsburgh to do this training for them as well. It just talks about some of the things that you touched on as far as, misgendering people when you walking into a room and just because someone looks or acts a certain way doesn't mean they are that way. And so the implicit bias training is something that the entire department got a few years ago.
I noticed Richard's hand was coming off of mute.
Okay. First of all, Chief Orlando, thank you very much for attending the meeting. My question, a couple of years ago, I was the Grand Marshal for the Pride Parade. And as we were going through downtown, I noticed the lack of security at intersections. And I was just worried, like with the political climate happening in our country right now, will the Pittsburgh police have a stronger presence during the Pride March? And I know it's always a sensitive issue for Pride Fest, but I am just putting it out there that I'm just worried with what might possibly happen. And I know you cannot speak to specific security measures, but I was just wondering if that has been a discussion.
So it would certainly be part of the discussion with our special event staff as we plan the event. The other thing is we have a group of crime analysts in the department that are constantly monitoring for any threats, anything that they're tracking things across the country. So if we notice that there's an increased threat, for instance, recently with everything going on, in Iran between Israel, we are certainly beefing up our presence in our Jewish communities. And that's based on credible information that we are receiving from our crime analysts. We would do the very same for really any event, but in particular, a Pride event. But that's just all part of the discussion in the planning process. So I know as we get, or do you know who? It's been a few years since I've been a part of it. Who sits on the Pride planning committee?
I do. And so, Dean Stingley, the Trans Uniting for the big Pittsburgh Pride.
Okay.
which is the Pride March, and to answer a couple of Richard's questions, it is purposeful that we have plainclothes cops at Pride. And so you may not see a police officer, but they were still there. And so it was purposeful that we didn't want to trigger attendees and things like that, with a bunch of uniformed officers in the parade or surrounding the parade. So that was purposeful in the last couple of years. I don't know the previous years what the plan was, but plainclothes cops were our move for the last couple of years.
Well, I remember the last time I was here, we did have a number of plainclothes officers because they could, I mean, they could also more easily spot what's going on.
Right.
You know, if someone sees a uniform walking their way, you know, and they're up to no good, they're gonna, you know,
Right.
run away. But as far as traffic goes, I mean, we'll make sure that we address that when we get into the planning, because there is especially for parades, I mean, there's a very clear traffic plan for certain intersections that require a police officer versus barricades. And so we would make sure, that those intersections are staffed appropriately, because we would never want someone driving around, you know, a barricade if that's a major intersection that needs to have an officer there.
And I have an additional question. Just as we are concerned about the Jewish community, obviously the LGBTQ community is another target. So I'm talking as a queer business owner, and I know Julian as an organization. You know, there's a lot of our community that are out front, that are very visible and doing work. You know, has there been a discussion of how to address, I don't want to say physical protection, but just a discussion within the Bureau of possible threats to the business community in general, in the nonprofits?
I mean, I'll be honest, nothing in particular has been brought to my attention, you know, in the past 2 months since I've been back. But if there is a particular concern or threat, I would be more than happy to meet, and of course, Eric as well, to meet, discuss it and figure out a plan, you know, to address it and make sure people feel safe. I mean, I just brought the Jewish community example to light because that's something that, you know, just happened very recently, and that's, you know, kind of ongoing. But if there is a particular threat or concern, you know, we definitely want and need to hear about it so we can help formulate a plan to address it. Can I just ask, is there something, was there a particular threat recently that you're referring to?
Nothing particular. I just wanted to know if the city was being proactive and just preparing for anything, because we never know. I also work with Planned Parenthood, so we never know what will happen in that regard. And we just know that other cities have had incidents that they just were not prepared. And I just want to make sure the city is prepared at all these levels, just to give us a sense that we are living in a safer city, that I just want to be prepared. That's all. I'm one of those sort of like Boy Scouts that never was a Boy Scout, but I have that kind of list of wanting to make sure things are safe for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And please, I mean, if you hear of something, or, you know, there's even if it's a vague threat or some post on social media, it's really important that we know about that so we can vet it and we can respond accordingly. So, you know, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. I know Eric's available, you know, all the time. I will always be available. But we kind of operate on, you know, any intelligence that we're able to gather, and then we formulate a plan to respond accordingly. So we really rely, you know, on the community to be our partners and to let us know, you know, if and when they hear something, even if it's something, you know, you're at an event or you're at a bar, or you see something online and someone says something that just doesn't feel right or that makes you feel unsafe. We need to know about that, so, you know, so we can vet it. So, you know, please don't ever hesitate to reach out.
Is the city tracking hate crimes at all?
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll figure out a way to share contact information. I would also ask that you all try to keep me informed if you're hearing things in the neighborhood. They're very busy. I'm very busy, but I do have, since I work closer with you all, you can bring things to me and I can work with them. But just, if you're hearing things like Sarah brought something to my attention a couple years ago around a storybook reading and protesters. And at that time, I did not work for the city. And to be honest, I tried to call the former mayor's office and nobody picked up. So I'm providing that to you all now, working for Mayor O'Connor. And I will work closely with the chief and with the commander if we're hearing stuff like that on the ground.
Thank you very much.
Is there any other questions?
Yes, but just to speak on like what Richard's saying, I have a business too in East Liberty, and I have like a progress flag in my window, and I do, feel like in the back of my mind, is something gonna happen to my business? Am I gonna go in one day and there's gonna be like a brick through the building? So I don't wanna have to take away our representation and who we are. But right now, at this point in time, I do feel like a target, so I definitely appreciate you bringing that up, Richard. But the other thing I just wanted to ask, when you were talking about recruitment and like trying to make the staff of the police force like more diverse, like what does that kind of look like? What is the process? How do you kind of know if you're hiring the right people with, an open mind? And then when you talked about the police force not like being like not having enough, like I guess I could search on the internet and figure that out. But like when you say it in numbers, is it like what does that look like? I don't like how many are we low with and high with, whatnot?
Oh, I mean, I would have to say just anecdotally, because I don't have numbers, but I can tell you that representation in the LGBTQIA communities definitely lower than we'd like it to be. In our African American community as well. Is that less than 10%? Yeah, less than 10%. We do have a significant number of female officers. So when we look at when we look at gender, I think we're doing pretty good there. But definitely when it comes to race and sexual identity. And the other thing is, I would love to work with this commission to come up with ideas for recruitment opportunities. I don't think a lot of people, a lot of young, members of the LGBTQIA plus community don't consider law enforcement as a career. And so we need to kind of figure out like how can we change that? Because we want our police department to be reflective of our community. But that's more than us just saying, hey, we're hiring, there's an application online. Whether it's a ride-along program or whether it's we do a citizens police academy, we do a student police academy. I'd be happy to set up something similar, for our LGBTQIA community. But just to kind of collaborate on ways that we can make people think this could be a career that I want to be a part of. So, and I'm sorry, did you have something else?
I think that was really it. I'm trying to I'm like a numbers person, so I'm trying to figure out like what numbers should look like in the police force and where they are. Like,
I mean, so what we say, ideally, a police department should be reflective of the community it serves. So when you look at the numbers, the breakdown of the population of the city of Pittsburgh, ideally, in a perfect world, it's exactly balanced, percentages. Very few police departments actually, have that. It's something that we definitely need to strive to work towards, but we can't do it alone. We really need our community partners because, all day long as a police chief or as a commander, we can say we need to hire more, more people from the LGBTQIA community. But unless we have those inroads and those partnerships in that community that say, hey, we're having an event. Can you send some recruiters? Can you talk about what you do? Talk about, the different roles in the agency. Unless we have that relationship, it can be very difficult for us to, establish those.
As far as the climate, like for the other officers, is that something that you all take into consideration? Like, too, is that something that like they want, like, yeah, bring on more LGBTQIA officers, and is that something?
So I have to tell you, in my experience, and please, I mean, please feel free to jump in. No, I want to hear you first. You go first. Your experience with Pittsburgh police officers.
So I think as the department over the years, I think as we've seen, younger generations come onto the job. I think there's definitely, a little bit more. I don't wanna say acceptance, because acceptance gives the impression that, you're intolerant, you're just dealing with it. But a more normalized, like seeing that our community is more normalized within the police department. I think I've seen that anecdotally just in my career. I don't know that anyone is necessarily, I don't think that there's any individual officer necessarily carrying a flag saying, hey, we need to get more of this or more of that, or whatever in the department. I think generally it was kind of the same thing that my experience in the Army. It was like more of anyone at this point. This was it's kind of a godsend. So I mean, I think that and you see that, you'll probably see that continue as the department continues to get younger, turnover, things like that.
Yeah, maybe I'm just very lucky, but I mean, I was outed when I was, what year was it? I came on in 2000, and in 2023, I was like on a date with some guy, and his ex-boyfriend, we ran into him. His ex-boyfriend was a little bit crazy and lost his mind and called all the police stations because he found out I wasn't out. Called all the police stations and outed me, and that was in 2023. Or, I'm sorry, 2000. That was in 2003.
Yeah, everyone was so.
So we're talking 23 years ago. And even some of the like most rough around the edges officers, like the ones that I was worried would have the hardest time with it, were really like unbelievably accepting, to the point where like they personally reached out to me and they're like, yeah, we all know, no one cares. And they were just so cool. And that was 23 years ago. And I'll share with you, so I used to be on the SWAT team many years ago. And I was, I was really worried that, people on the SWAT team, because that's like the tough, Fast forward right before I left to go to Maryland, I was walking around or going around all the stations just like say goodbye to people, and I walked into the SWAT base, and one of our SWAT operators is very openly gay, and I walked into the SWAT base, and I might be oversharing here, but he knows I want to tell this story. And all the SWAT guys were like gathered around. He was talking through very intimate details of like what he and his partner do together. And they were like, wait, tell us. And I walked down, I go, what is happening? And they all started laughing. And he looked back at me and he goes, this isn't the SWAT team from 25 years ago. They all want to know this stuff. And I was like, oh my.
Sure.
So I say that, half jokingly, but like, I think they're a lot more open-minded. And even where I was in the 5 years that I was in Maryland, I spent a lot of time around cops, a lot of time, where sometimes I didn't always know. I was like, listening to what was going on. And I've been very pleasantly surprised to hear like to them it's like no big deal. It's like, okay, you are, whatever. Can you be a cop? Can you do your job? That's all we care about. And so I am sure, as in every profession, there are that select few that don't feel that way. Well, yeah. But I think that I've been very lucky in my career that I haven't come across them, and I've worked with some really rough around the edges guys, and they, as soon as they found out about me, they were very accepting. And so I would hope that it would just get better and better moving forward.
Thanks. Do we have any other questions? Commander, did you wanna say anything as well?
Well, thank you for inviting me. I know some of you, it's been an event with some of you. So hopefully we can continue this relationship and it can be a little bit more active, moving forward. Something that I would like to try to figure out is some mechanism, by which, we can have some kind of data, or I can have some kind of data collection for instance, for not necessarily crime, but instances of biased behavior, right, that may occur around the city. So it would be great to be able to capture identifying information so we can have some analytics numbers, right? So, so we can kind of see what that looks like, but it can also be anonymous. So, right, if something were to happen to somebody, maybe someone makes a comment, may not rise to the level of criminality, but there is a mechanism by which that instance could be reported and it could be reported out. So that was something I was kicking around with one of the editors at Pittsburgh, was how best would we accomplish that and how would we put that forward? So I don't know what that looks like, but if this commission had any thoughts on it, I'd be willing to, of course, collaborate with anyone.
Yeah, we'd love to brainstorm on like how we can.
Yeah.
Mess this with.
I think the hardest thing is like, when you go to the city website, it's like, there's so much, and it's like, where would you go to really report something like this? And like, I think talking to Q-Berg is big, because I feel like a lot of our community does know that as a resource, but I think when I'm thinking, if I was a victim, like how would I report it without just calling the police? But knowing that there's an actual like hate crime, or a situation that occurred that was directed towards our community, that important.
Did the department collect data on like hate crimes and the categories?
We do, so, by virtue of just filing a police report, we have different analytics and that is tracked. However, that's like one piece of the pie, right? Because first off, we know that generally, less than half of all crimes ever reported. And that's just crime. There are instances that, and this has come up a couple times recently where, things are certainly bias driven, hate driven, but they don't necessarily rise to the level of criminality. That's what I would like to try. That's where the vacuum is, right? And to your point about the city's website, I don't know where that would look like, or would it just be, I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, because you're saying like, if it's not like a crime that's being reported to the police, is there that like middle space where it is kind of being collected as data and like acknowledged?
Yeah. Alexander has a hand raised. Alexander?
Yeah, I just want to comment that Pennsylvania actually does not have hate crime laws on the books that protect the LGBTQIA community. Federal law does apply, but we should be aware of that, and all the more reason that we should push for more up-to-date hate crime legislation in Harrisburg. Also, I'm sorry, I have to say this as a mental health advocate. Let's reconsider using the word "went crazy" when someone does something that we think is socially inappropriate. So let's please be more sensitive with our language. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to add to this a little bit, me and the commander both met, and I think this would be helpful for Kevin to chime in at some point. And I'm going to mention a few things later on about how the city's working for this commission, but we should be working very closely with the Human Relations Commission on being able to promote, like, this is something that you can actually report in instances of public service. But in addition to that, we should, I have been called every word imaginable as a person of color and as a queer person, and I've never called 911. So maybe that's something we think about is how to build a campaign around it. Working closely with the Bureau of Police and with the Human Relations Commission. Well, we have a jam-packed agenda, and I don't want to keep the two of them. Was there anything else before we move forward?
Do you want to invite them to our town hall like you did previously? And the things that we've reported out on, I forget what we've reported out on, but there was something specifically for police and LGBTQIA people in Pittsburgh. So we can find that presentation.
When's the town?
We're deciding, so we don't have to do that.
Oh,
But just, yeah, a tentative safety. Well, do. Thank you.
thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
And of course, you all are welcome to eat them. So.
I know that-
I'm trying so hard.
No, please.
We got two.
I can feel the, it's a bit lower when you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Okay. So. Let's move on to the next agenda item for our new business. Just briefly, I want to, Julian can speak to this as well. Talia, who is the staff person for the Gender Equity Commission, we have been working very closely with each other, and we understand the need for the two of us to work together, and so internally, sorry, I had to let Kevin back in. Internally, we have sent out an email. The Gender Equity Commission, Julie can speak to this, it was raised in their meeting earlier in the month to create this internal working group among the city employees who sit on this commission and that commission, so that when we're not meeting, we can try to get things done to move agenda items quicker. And so Talia and I put that together. Sounds like everybody's up for that, and I just wanted to give that update. And then next agenda item on the new business, I had a meeting with Tamara Abney, and I apologize that her organization is escaping me right now, but we worked closely with her in prior years. I want to say back in 2015-16 to bring menstrual products to the city of Pittsburgh. And at that time, DPW, the director at that did not want us to do all these things. There was all these issues. It's 2026, so we're moving forward. Now, speaking with Tamara at that time, they were able to help donate some of those items to us. And right now, they're not in a position to do that anymore. It would deplete their entire, everything they had if the city of Pittsburgh did that. So this working group, we're gonna begin starting to talk about like, how do we figure out ways to get some support at the city from outside organizations on to work on that issue. And hopefully this working group will be able to move some of that forward. And then the final thing that, and I'm gonna have this commission, like similar to how the Gender Equity Commission, this next item, decided to have a city working group among city employees. I want this commission, and Talia is going to propose it to her commission next month, that Julian also sits on, for there to be a working group among you all who are not working for the city of Pittsburgh. So, 2 or 3 of you from this commission and 2 or 3 from that commission can work closely together. Because I kid you not, at least 3 of our agenda items are on their list of items as well. I don't know, you want to have a discussion possibly on that right now?
About making a working group?
Yeah, among you all, and their commissioners.
Yeah, so like you said, I can attest that a lot of like the mutual agenda items that we have, particularly around like UPMC and trans healthcare, and just reproductive rights, so things that affect all of our communities. That's why I think we have like a lot of likeness when we're thinking of moving forward in the next upcoming year. And so I agreed to a working group just within the Gender Equity Commission, because while we're in between these meetings that we have, that there's some, like we said, some movement that can be done. Rather it's getting like we're working on getting like diapers and we want to say parental and say maternal, like parental items for just parents, stuff like that. And in the interim of our meetings, getting those items, making sure that they're directed to the right places or collected correctly. That's like what the working group is working on. So, like we said, in the intermediate of our meetings, that there can be some action between those meetings. So yeah, I approve. I mean, I approve, not for the commission, but in terms of just the concept of just being more actionable, I approve that concept.
I agree too. I mean, yeah, just as a person who's trans too, I definitely want to continue to stay up to date with what's happening with our the gender affirming care within our youth and all the hospitals and organizations that are not servicing that anymore. But I do, it's definitely starting to push into people that are adults and over 19 as well in certain states. So I really feel like that is something we need to continue to put the pressure on and advocate for, because as someone that does take HRT, it's really important that we have central outreach, and we have these allies and other different organizations that are providing this gender affirming care, and continue that equity like as gender as well. So yeah.
Councilperson Warwick. It looks like you're not on mute, but we can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, yep.
Sorry, I just was I'm getting in my car. So just someone mentioned UPMC, and I just wanted to just flag, and then this could be like gender equity commit, just if we're talking about UPMC, and I did talk with Chief Gilman about this. It's around their discharge policies. So, well, on the one hand, they're one issue is that
I think your Bluetooth, we just lost you again. Sorry, we still can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, yep.
Okay. Sorry. Hopefully I'll try and say it quick in case I cut out again. So UPMC's discharge policies, they are discharging folks without clothes. And that includes victims of sexual assault, right? Because they'll have to take their clothes for evidence. And so, organizations like PAR, when they go to the emergency rooms, are bringing clothes, which is very nice of them. Do you know what I mean? But it's an issue. They're also discharging folks who are, have dementia, whatever, like discharging them to Second Avenue Commons and other places like that with just in a hospital gown and no shoes, right? But maybe that is something to address, especially around as far as the Gender Equity Commission, right? As far as the assault victims, like if they could just give them some sweatshirt and sweatpants just to make sure that people have some clothes to leave the hospital in.
Alexander?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Donnie said. I think really defending our trans community right now would be the best use of our time. I feel like... I'm sorry, Corey, were you talking?
No, you're good. Keep going.
That's okay. Thank you.
All right, so again, we're making a motion to create a working group. Does anybody want to make a motion, or do you want to table it and think about it?
The parameters of the motion, I mean, the parameters of the working group, I say yes.
Okay.
I make a motion to make a working group.
I second it. I guess my question is though, there's a lot of different topics between, and I think that would that be happening within the working group, like specifically figuring out what the focus will be on?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big challenge is like, you're not gonna be able to solve a lot of these things in these meetings. So you're gonna have to figure out a way to work, I think, with them outside of these meetings. Or else you're gonna find yourself constantly coming back here and not really getting some of these things done, and I wanna be able to help you to do that. But I can't do all that work by myself. And the way I'm gonna be able to achieve this is by working with my colleagues at the city, and I think the way you help steer us is by having something outside of these regular commission meetings.
So like the stuff that we approve in the meetings is the stuff that the working group will be pushing forward in the intermediate, and I approve that concept. I also want to open it up to everyone to say aye, so Donnie was able to second it. Can we hear an aye from all in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So
Approved.
a motion approved to create a working group.
Do you want to bring that up maybe in the Gender Equity Commission? I'll give Talia that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Let's see, the last new business is there was legislation passed right before towards the end of last year to create a quarterly report. Because I'm new to this commission, I'm not very completely aware of everything that you may have been working on. I can type up what I have already. But if possible, outside of this meeting, if you could help me, if I'm missing any items. I know, I just have what the meeting minutes, that you have. If you do have documents from before, that could be helpful for this report. It's due very soon, so I'm trying to have this done next week.
Okay.
Right, what's the Tuesday?
Okay.
I could get it done by the end of this week if you have some additional things, but it's, they could, I can get it done next week.
How extensive is there?
It could be just a one pager, and I have some examples of other reports from other commissions that get sent out, and those are more extensive reports. But it could be like a one pager.
Okay. Yeah, if you send me an example with just like the criteria, definitely like try to mimic and then be more concise for us.
Sounds great. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to take over the unfinished business part?
Yeah, let's zoom past this, not zoom through it, but we want to just be mindful that we get through everything. But if you all haven't had an opportunity to view just our bylaw amendment for attendance, I did 3 examples, one being very strict, one being more lenient, and one being the most lenient. I have to pull up the document, I don't have it on me. But the first one is pretty much saying, after you miss 3 meetings unexcused, then the executive team would have pretty much a consequence of some sort for you all, and a recommendation if you can't meet capacity or removal. The second one has to do with being more flexible, like I said, and then after you miss 3, it being an internal kind of conversation, and us moving forward, and do you have the capacity to move forward, and then having more of a conversation base. If you do say you do, then keeping a more lenient tone and saying, okay, well, we're going to keep on working with you to move forward. And then the last one being the most lenient, which is basically kind of similar to the the one that we have now. And it's basically working with everyone to meet them where they are. We're working with everyone to meet them where they are, and just making sure that basically that we don't want to kick anyone off of the commission. We don't want anyone to feel like they are in jeopardy of removal. We just want it to be a highlighted factor, or just noticed that we noticed that you aren't making the meetings. And so that might be a self-removal, or like, well, we know that all of us are working, like, if you can't make the meeting, it's not fair, in that capacity. So, Corey was able to put the link. Corey was able to put the link to these amendments, in our agenda. And so I want us to have a quick kind of conversation around what we were thinking of how we wanted to move forward. And in the previous conversations, we did say that we wanted a more strict structure around attendance. So I was thinking the first option for me, but the floor is open.
Anybody maybe read through them? Do you want to? Because honestly, I haven't gotten a chance myself to really look at them.
Let me see if I yeah. I just need 1 second to open up my Gmail.
If you want to use my laptop.
Isn't the first option the current standard as per the bylaws?
The current, no, they're all, the current bylaws now, they stand that there is no recourse. So there is no action.
Is that accurate? Though, I mean, there was, we just weren't able to enforce it.
Oh, that's what I mean by.
The original standard was after missing 3 meetings, there would be removal by the executive board, but we were never able to enforce that.
Right.
So I mean, the current, the option 1 that you just mentioned sounds very much the same to me as what we originally written. I'm just wondering how we would have enforced that now.
Right. Because and still an actual removal has to come from the mayor or from city council.
And I also think, given that some folks have missed 2 meetings, you may want to consider a start date of these, any changes you make as well.
Right.
So, we'll give people passes.
Yeah, it'll be retroactive to this date. So we're making a decision on our ongoing works. And so like if you missed 2 previous meetings this year, we wouldn't count those as if you missed your next one after the 3rd, it's missing 2 more meetings or whatever.
So my question is if we were to go forward, say with option 1, what enforcement do we hold now that we didn't hold before?
Right.
I would make the suggestion that you write some sort of letter to the mayor's office recommending the removal.
Okay. And so, let me answer your question. Yeah, that's kind of like, I don't think we've ever done that before, was to actually move forward with actual writing the letter or actually making the recommendation to city council that this person is removed. We've always just said, okay, that person's not showing up, and there was no further action. But we do have that recourse that we've just never leveraged.
And is there a warning first that comes? Because I think you may want to consider something like that.
Yeah, let's skim through these really fast. Let me see.
These 3 absences are without notice, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you, either tell Corey or I or Cece, even Alexander, anybody in the executive committee that you have a previous engagement, stuff like that, then those are excused absences. You're going to a wedding, you're on vacation, but just know, we call it no call, no shows, like where I'm from, but just like if you don't call, if you don't show up, then we're going to assume that is a mark.
Is there also for Pride Month? Like, do you have a month that you take off? Because I know everyone in this room is busy that month.
No, Pride Month, we are super busy, so
Yeah.
we take off.
Why not add that? Why don't you add that to your bylaws, like just take off for Pride Month?
Okay.
I mean, it's up to you.
I think the biggest thing too is just like stating the excused or unexcused, because it's like, that's, I think, part of the issue is that there's just like not the communication of letting people know.
If they're excused or unexcused.
If they're not gonna make it or not.
Right,
Yeah.
I feel that if it's already in the bylaws, why should you have to be explaining to somebody all of that? It's already there and they accept that. I mean, at the most, maybe a last minute notice before the third one or when the third one happens. And then, at that point, the person either speaks or not, and then that's it. But I think more than anything, perhaps the effort needs to be on recruitment I don't know who does the recruitment, but that's where the efforts need to be, because I think one of the reasons why nothing has happened in the past is because we don't have other candidates to join. And so therefore we don't necessarily have given the notices of termination to the existing ones.
Right, a replacement. I can say, like we were just speaking in this meeting, I do know someone that has applied and does have to go through city council, I believe, for their application to be approved, and they said they were not approved. So some people could be applying and there could be some interest. I don't know if it was a denial or if it was just like a longevity of just not hearing anything back after their submission. But they took it as that they're not a part of the selecting class of new commissioners. So whatever.
The process actually is the mayor's office makes the selections and then submits them. Anybody that serves on a commission, they go through the mayor appoints.
Right.
And then they send them to council. The other thing is everybody has term limits on this commission too. And there's a few of you coming up soon as well, which we can discuss. I'll make sure to let you know. I'll reach out if you have an expiring commission seat.
Right.
I think too, like you sent us the attendance sheet and obviously we can see that, so I think us visibly seeing who is being active and not does provide more accountability for people to show up. And then hold that, our, like what we choose as an option, like accountable, like responsible for how we move forward.
Right. And we're posing this all here so we can all agree and move forward like accordingly. So from what I've heard from everyone, we like option number one. It's still just kind of how it reads in the bylaws still. After the third notice, we're going to speak with the executive leadership team about people. We noticed your attendance lacking without any unexcused absences. And then actually writing a letter if that person, I don't know, I don't want to call it remorseful or maybe just doesn't see their capacity being able to fulfill the needs of the commission, then we would go forward and write that letter like we haven't done before. And that would be our primary new recourse. And so kind of keeping, like we said, Lenny, kind of keeping the same parameters, but really us all voting to accept that we will send a letter to the mayor and to the council to remove you after we've all agreed upon this. Does that make sense to everyone?
So essentially enforcing the parameters that we already have in place.
Right, and moving forward with doing what we haven't done before and actually making a recommendation for removal.
Harry, if I make a suggestion for the mayor, I think it is important that there is representation from the 3 tiers of ages, like young people, middle-aged, and adults in the commission, because I think it needs to be representative. The youngs also have to have a voice. And sometimes people are like us over 50, sometimes, things are changing all the time. And I think it's important that their voice is part of this commission, at least one person.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, great.
All scared of each other.
No.
I'm like,
Okay, so when Donnie comes back, I'm gonna motion that we approve. Just the kind of the first option here, which is reflective of our already created bylaws, and then with the addition of us all agreeing to moving forward with an actual letter of removal.
We will have to wait till Donnie comes back from the bathroom if you plan on taking any votes right now. Alexander's out of the meeting, so we'll have to wait for Donnie to come back. That gives you 7 votes if you're all in favor of it. And, this is, I think we should send a notice out to everybody as well, just about changes, and like for those who haven't, like, I'll just say Shantae has not been here for 2 meetings and now we're on 3. And, I think we need to get that notice out to these members. And then, because, yeah.
Right, and it also helps with our quorum. So like sometimes we can't make decisions because we don't have the percentage of commissioners. So ultimately, it would lead to us being able to make more decisions more often. So,
Councilperson Warwick.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, so while we're waiting for folks to come back, I need to jump off to go to another meeting, but I did want to just mention something quickly just for the commission before I run. So since the last time we met, there have been I have become aware of 2 incidences involving DPW where there have been where workers so one was a worker using some kind of homophobic slur. I don't know the details. It went in front of the Commission on Human Relations with not with another worker, but with a resident, whatever. There was some dispute, and and then the other incident, we had a settlement with a worker, right, over some homophobic slurs or so, I don't know the details of that, but where we had a settlement with a worker who's no longer with the city. But I just wanted, for transparency, to let the commission know that I was aware of that, and we have an interview coming up with the new DPW director, and I will be asking about just training and what is DPW doing with its workforce to just kind of address this issue with the workforce in general, just in terms of training and whatnot. So I just wanted to put that out there for folks to be aware.
thank you. Okay.
We could now motion on the bylaws. If you feel comfortable, you could always table it to the next meeting, but that's up to you.
No, we were going to motion now. So I motion that we adopt this change to the bylaws. My first option with the amendment of the actual recourse piece of writing letters and removing commissioners for not attending. That's my full motion. Anyone can second.
I second.
All in favor, can we hear an aye?
Can we discuss first, please?
Oh, yeah.
Not that I'm trying to throw any flies in the ointment, because I absolutely want to vote and pass this, but do we currently have quorum?
Yes.
But Councilperson Warwick can vote.
But I do not count toward quorum. Correct.
Quorum. That's a good question. Yeah. No, because Alexander left the meeting.
So we don't.
So we do not
don't
have
have
quorum. So does that mean we have to end this meeting?
It can be informational. We don't have to. We just can't vote.
Right.
Okay. So I
And
would.
again, I want to vote on this, but
Yeah.
I want it to stand.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we can do. We can send an email out if you want to do it that way. Okay.
Yeah. We'll make it happen. But okay.
Corey, I do need to jump too. So thank you,
Oh,
everybody.
you're good. We're just gonna finish up with the information, and we'll still include what we're talking about in the notes.
Yes.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Council.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you for raising that, Lenny.
Well, we can note it on the minutes, and definitely, that's an example as to why we need to have.
As
Exactly.
ridiculous as it is, that's absolutely accurate.
Right.
That is right. So we'll table the bylaws for later. And then, but the most pressing thing, and I just want, hey, Kevin.
Yeah, sorry, I kept like getting kicked off earlier when we were talking about making note of like hate crimes and different things like that. So just so everyone in this meeting is aware, you can't file a hate crime with the Commission on Human Relations. You have to go through the police or the local FBI office. But we just put out our annual report, which we do have statistics in there of like any SOGI protections. So if you want any sort of idea of something that happened in the last year of like how many employment complaints that were filed under gender identity or expression or housing complaints and things of that nature, I can share our annual report with you from last year so that it gives you some idea.
Yeah, we would love.
Kevin, if you could forward that, like email it to all of us, or you could just send it to me
I'll put it
directly.
in the group thread with for this commission meeting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So this is really important, town hall, and this is not quite public yet, so please keep this among us, but we are bringing back the comp plan. We just announced that we got a $750 million grant from the Heinz Foundation. But the important thing to note is that there are going to be 20 meetings across the city the week after Easter. So this is going into the second week of April. And then that's going to happen second week, third week. Then you have the NFL draft coming. So if for a town hall, and I'm going to be very tied down with these comp plan meetings, I have to do all of them. So town hall, can we possibly revisit another month? April is absolutely insane for us all. And I really want it to be a meaningful one. I just don't want to report what you all reported last year. We might be able to get some things to report out,
Yeah. Yeah, we want it to be as intentional as it was in the first year. So not just reporting on the same things, but updating those data points that we had in the previous presentation. I don't know if we have the previous presentation.
I honestly didn't get any transitional documents for anything that I work on, and I have many projects.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm tracking down emails too. So if we had an email address, if it's at LGBTQIA at City of Pittsburgh or at PittsburghPA.gov.
You can post your individual email addresses, but I was told that I'm not involved in this. I was told that the capacity for emails for the city is at its limit.
I think they're going to respond to me the same way. So if that Google Drive is good enough for everybody, and I can update it so you can actually add things to it if you want me to do it that way. Okay.
But yeah, if we can have a commission email or something like that rather than us each having our individual emails.
There should be one I created when we had the advisory council, and they never go away, the email addresses. I created LGBTQIA at PittsburghPA.gov that we used for the advisory council. I just don't know if any of our documents are going to be in there.
Okay. Sorry.
Corey, can I correct your number about the $750 million that you said?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Oh shit, yeah, it's thousands. Sorry, excuse my language. Sorry, I'm cursing you, big city of Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's $750,000, not million. That would be great.
Small difference.
Guillermo?
Yeah, just quickly regarding town halls. Last year, we were able to host a session here at PHCC in Beachview. If you would like to consider that again this year, just let me know.
That sounds great. The city planners are really planning those meetings, and our intention is to actually, we're either looking at Brookline or Beachview, just so you know. And then what would be helpful is if all of you find a meeting to go to and participate as well. I think, like I said, I want you all to kind of participate in some of the other things that we're doing in the city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I'll have more information on that. As well. I know we're kind of going into announcements, but the town hall, can we just circle back to that real quick? So the reason why that came up, the comp plan, is because it's gonna interfere with our town hall for sure, and the NFL draft. Do we wanna, I also said we should create a working group for this as well.
Well, the working group for the commission will probably.
Okay, we'll do that,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, you said July,
I mean,
it's after Pride,
After
I don't
Pride,
know what else we would, yeah,
cause May will be just as good, very up towards Pride,
yeah.
okay.
yeah, in May, we have capital budget meetings with, which the commission should also participate in as well. Go ahead.
We can't vote on this, but what do we all think about July?
July. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Mhm.
And then I think your next big things after that are gonna be Outfest and creating a report that we put out to the public.
Mhm, mhm.
So July. Do you want a motion for the date, or do you wanna
We're
hold
gonna
on?
approve it.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna have, that's right. Okay,
Our next meeting, we should definitely make sure we lock that down for July.
okay. And then I just want you all to know I've been a little bit busy, but I will do my best to like reach out to some of the folks who have not been present in these meetings and try to lock that down. People have sent me their excuses. So most, I think, have done that.
We're missing multiple meetings? Like-
Yeah,
like-
yeah. Also, I don't think a lot of people knew I was taking this over too, so we'll see. We'll work on it.
Yes.
But why don't we just make sure we're communicating to an email chain that we have with anything, like use it as a chat? I don't know how you communicated before.
Yeah, we said that we're gonna make a text message group. I'm still missing some commissioners' phone numbers. So if you haven't sent me your phone number yet, and then if we can, in the email that you sent to all the commissioners, if we can request the phone number so we can make a text message group, and I put you in as well. So we can just have a more expedited form of course, all the official things will still go through email. And so like our meeting invites and stuff like that, but just as a secondary place that we can all see in a faster pace, because I think would behoove us to have a text message. And then when we have meetings like this, we can remind people like, hey, we're on the meeting, or hey, we're
Perfect. Okay, let's see, any other new business?
New business, not really. The Bradbury Sullivan LGBTQIA health report for Pennsylvania is out. I can send that to everyone and to Corey as well. But the Humane Foundation partners with Bradbury Sullivan every year to get an extensive report on how Pennsylvanian LGBTQIA people are doing, and they cover everything from nutrition, like how people eating, to tobacco use. And every year they come out with a really extensive report on just how Pennsylvania LGBTQIA people are doing health wise. So I'll send you the link.
I'm gonna be sending out a newsletter soon from my office that has a whole bunch of information from the city, and I'll be sure to include you on that monthly newsletter. My office, we're also managing the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. And if you're not familiar with this, it will be, I'll include a lot of my programs that I manage in that newsletter. If any of the people that you work with are have ever participated in the Learn and Earn program, that they are taking applications, that's a program for youth to work and learn at the same time, and they get paid to do it. The Dolly Parton Imagination Library is for infants to 5 years old. They receive in the mail a book monthly. So that's it for me. All right. Well, we can't really motion to adjourn this meeting. We can just walk away and enjoy the rest of our evenings.